Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back again to another episode of Say What? Barstool Parlay. Um, let's get right into this because this is something I just want to touch on briefly. And it's the Davante Adams situation and the potential that Davante Adams, could go to Dallas or Dallas would be interested. Um, and Stephen Jones shut it down the other day on the radio saying, we already have our number one and he's the number one and we can't really afford that. The lie has started again, the we don't have the money lie. And this just absolutely drives me fucking crazy because we heard this lie from Jerry about Derrick Henry. Oh, we couldn't afford Derrick Henry. And I don't remember exactly what the salary numbers are off the top of my head, but we were going over this on the Fisher on the Fish report with Mike Fisher, and it's on point. He nails it, and they add up the salaries that you're currently paying add up to more than the $8 million you would have paid for Derrick Henry. Rico, Zeke, and Dalvin Cook combined add up to just a touch more than what you would have had to pay Dalvin Cook. Derrick Henry, excuse me. So the money was always there. The money was always there. So that's point number one. The money was always there. It's a lie because you gave the money to the players currently on your roster. So the money was there. You could have afforded Derrick Henry. You chose not to. You chose not to go make a decision that would have changed the trajectory of this football team in the offseason. Not to mention that we know a guy like Derrick Henry, when's the best seasons of Dak's career? When they have a run game. Dak's best season was his rookie year. And I know some of you are going to argue with me, last year was his best season. What are you talking about? Last year. Dallas has the talent. They're always usually pretty good in the regular season. But on top of that, once again, Dak wasn't very good last year against playoff teams. The only time he was ever good in his career against playoff teams was his rookie year when he could lean on a run game and lean on play action. What would Derrick Henry do for Dak Prescott? Oh, allow him to lean on a run game and play action, and maybe he'd go back to what we saw his rookie year where he could actually win and compete against playoff teams. Wow, crazy thought. So obviously Derrick Henry would have helped you. But what bothers me is the lie of we don't have the money to do it. You absolutely have the money to do it. And once you understand that that's a lie, you can understand the concept of how it's always a lie because, like Fisher talks about, and like I've said before, teams can always restructure contracts, manipulate salaries, manipulate cap space. You can always manipulate the cap. You can pretty much do whatever you want to do at any point you want to do it. It's just a matter of moving things around to make it work. The money can always be moved around. The money can always be made available. That's why we look at teams like Dallas and are going, are they functioning on a different salary cap than teams like Philadelphia, who they can sign 2 wide receivers and a running back and their quarterback and a lineman and a defensive end? Where are they getting all this money from? Because the money's always there. You just have to manipulate the cap. You can always make the room. You can always do the deal if you want to. So the fact that Dallas doesn't want to get another number one receiver opposite of CeeDee Lamb is mind-boggling to me. Because essentially what Stephen Jones is, outside of the bullshit we can't afford it bit, the other part of this is saying, well, we already got our number one and he's the number one. Essentially what Stephen Jones is saying is, well, we don't want to have too much talent at wide receiver. We don't want to be too good. We don't want to make Dak's life too easy. How fucking stupid are you? And as a former quarterback who had 2 really, really good receivers on one of my football teams, I can tell you, it makes it really easy when essentially you can just walk up there. It doesn't matter what the coverage is. Doesn't matter what anything looks like. You just go, oh, which one of these guys is singled? Which one of these guys, who's singled? Who's got man? Because you have to double team them. So what kind of dilemma that puts a defense in to have 2 guys that you can't single cover, that then you have to choose which one you want to single cover. Like I said, and as a quarterback, it makes your life very, very easy. I mean, the idea that you wouldn't want to put that pressure on a defense and you wouldn't want to put that tool or that weapon inside of Dak's toolbox is crazy to me. It's absolutely crazy, not to mention the fact that when we really get into it, you have no semblance of a run game. Yes, Rico Dowdle looked okay against Pittsburgh. You can't run the football. Dallas throws the ball 68% of the time. So if you can't run the ball and you throw it 68% of the time, then shouldn't you really want somebody like Davante Adams? You just really want to load up and super stack that receiver core for Dak, since it's literally what you're calling on offense 68% of the time is, hey, wide receivers, we need you to catch the balls. Wouldn't you want to load up that wide receiver room? I mean, it's just absolutely crazy to me. And then on top of that, I know we're going to have the people as well. Oh, well, what about Jalen Tolbert? He caught the game-winning touchdown in Pittsburgh, and Jalen Tolbert had like 8 catches. Jalen Tolbert's a 3. On some teams, he might even be a 4. Now, is he an NFL receiver? Yeah. Can he play? Yeah. Is he good? Yeah. He's just another guy. He's just another guy. He's not ever going to be the number 2 receiver here unless it's like last night and Dallas is just wants to do shit like this. We don't want Davante Adams. We don't want this. And they're just too cheap to sign somebody. Or they're just too cheap to want to get a real number 2. Then they might force him into being a number 2, but he's not a real number 2. Like a Devontae Smith, that's a number 2. He's not Devontae Smith at all. Jalen Waddle, that's a number 2. He's not Jalen Waddle at all. Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, 1-2. That's a 1 and 2. Not CeeDee Lamb and Jalen Tolbert at all. So that's where we have to think about the fact of you need weapons. And Jalen Tolbert is not the answer. And Kevontae Turpin, I've been saying for years now, find creative ways to get him involved in the offense. Let him outrun people down the field with his speed. They finally found a way to get Kevontae Turpin in the offense. Awesome. Continue to do that. Now get a real playmaker on the other side, Davante Adams. And when Brandon Cooks comes back, who you guys can argue with me all you want, you're wrong, is better than Jalen Tolbert. The only reason that Jalen Tolbert has more production, like we saw in Pittsburgh, than Brandon Cooks has at times, is because Dallas doesn't use Brandon Cooks in the way that Brandon Cooks is supposed to be used. Brandon Cooks is like Kevontae Turpin. He's a small, little, fast guy. He's a vertical threat. He's a horizontal threat across the field, drag routes, in routes, things like that. He's not a big physical receiver who's designed to be running hitches and slants, and that's what CD's for. You're a big physical possession guy. That's what CD's for. That's what a guy like a Jalen Tolbert is for, is to run those physical possession routes. That's not what Brandon Cooks does. That's why we're not seeing the production that we were hoping to see from Brandon Cooks, because they won't run him down the field. They won't run him on deep posts. They won't run him on go routes. They won't run him on drags across the field. They won't get him in wide receiver screen situations and get him in space. They won't run him on deep ends. They keep trying to act like he's 6'5" and 230 pounds and running him on hitch routes where he's getting blasted in the back and throwing him jump balls and running him across the field running him on slants. That's not who he is. He's not going to be successful that way. But you know who does do that? You know who does fit that role? Davante Adams. Davante Adams fits that role. And once Davante Adams is in that role, it allows you to do what you should have done all along with Brandon Cooks, which is mainly be able to have him run slot and do creative things with him, vertical routes, deep routes, cross the field, screen stuff, and do the things that Brandon Cooks is actually good at. Get back to the Brandon Cooks who is a 1,000-yard receiver everywhere he goes, with every quarterback in the league, except Dak, except in Dallas, because you won't do things the way, you won't utilize them the way you're supposed to be utilized. You won't do things the way they're supposed to get done. It took you 2 years to figure out how to use Kevontae Turpin last night. It took you 2 years to figure out, he could be an actual really big weapon that you can use consistently on offense. Athleticism, like Devontae Turpin, doesn't come around all the time. You need to take advantage of that. So, the fact is, Dallas should be absolutely, for all the reasons we've gone over, making this move to get Davante Adams. They're not going to do it. I believe they did make the call. It was reported early on when this first broke that Davante was open to being traded, that Diana Rossini, who is a trusted source inside of Dallas, has a lot of sources. Mike Fisher trusts her, and if Fisher trusts her, I trust her. Fisher's in that building. He's been covering him since the 90s. She reported that they did make the call. And making the call and actually making the call, if you know what I mean, are two separate things. Making the call and saying, hey, so second, would you take a third? Would you take 2/3 instead of a second and a third? Or that's making the call. Making the call is, hey, would you let him go for a single 6th-round pick? No? All right, well, thanks anyway. You didn't really make the call. You knew they were going to say no. And I think that's what Dallas did, is they got hammered for Derrick Henry. They didn't even make the call. Like they said, oh, we can't afford Derrick Henry. How do you even know, actually? Because you never called him. He might have said, oh, yeah, to stay in Dallas and not have to move and live in my new house I just bought? Yeah, actually, I'd sign for $2 million. Would he? Probably not. Let's be realistic. But you don't know, because you didn't make the call. You don't know what type of discount he's willing to take, so you actually don't know if you could have afforded him or not. You don't know. So, because Dallas got hammered by not making the call, I think that's why they made the call. Because I do believe Rossini's report and her source that they did make a call. I think that's why they made the call, just to cover their ass. But like I said, I don't think it was a real call. It was just more of a, hey, would you take a 6th-round pick or 4th-round pick? No? All right, cool. And move on. It wasn't, they're not really interested. They don't really want him. Stephen Jones made that clear. They're just making the call to cover their ass. So then they can come back and say, hey, we called. We called. The price was too high. 2nd-round pick and some change, it's not too high. That's a steal for a Davante Adams caliber player. And you should be on the phone and not hanging up until they take your 2nd-round pick and 3rd-round pick or whatever else the fuck they want for him. But by making the call, things, we were willing. We made the call. We were willing to do like a 3rd and a 4th, but a 2nd-round pick was just too high. It was too much for us, but we made the call. So rest assured, if they would have given us a reasonable offer, we would have obtained Davante Adams. We made the call. But it was an unreasonable asking price. We couldn't do it. And then they have that fucking out. When in reality, they called him 6th-round pick. Yeah, we were willing to have compensation. We had a package ready to go. Yeah, 6th-round pick? No, okay, never mind. Yeah, his price was too high. They wanted more than a 6th-round pick for Davante Adams. Shocker. And we all know that's how Dallas operates. Would you take $1 million? Would you take a 5th-round pick? Would you take a 7th-round pick? We know that's how they operate. So the call, nothing to be made of it. Stephen Jones has made it clear he's shutting it down. And it's just another reason why Dallas is going nowhere, why they're going to accomplish nothing this year, why the offense is going to continue to struggle all year, because they refuse to add playmakers. They refuse to do anything that actually makes sense. And now you guys know, and I wanted to make it very clear, don't let them lie to you. They have the money. They can do it. They could have done Davante and Derrick Henry if they wanted to. They didn't want to. That's what you need to know. They don't want to. And I can't figure out what delusional reasons they have for not wanting Derrick Henry and not wanting Davante Adams. What delusional mindset, what delusional idiocy is going on in their heads that think they're a better football team without those two guys. But that's the world we live in, and that's the world that we're going to continue to live in, because Jerry's, we're all in on the players that we have. We feel very comfortable with the people that we have on our roster. Okay. Well, you just lost another defensive end last night, and your other two are out for 4 weeks. So you only have 2 left on the team, maybe it'd be time to make a move to go get a defensive end, like a Hassan Reddick or something like that. Yeah, we didn't even talk about that. Nealon's hurt. They're going to need another defensive end. Mike is hurt. DeMarcus is hurt. Might be time to make a move to shore up your fucking defense. Well, we really like the players that we have, and we believe that, we can sign a practice team guy who's never taken a snap, and he's just going to fill in just fine, just like he's Charles Haley from these 90s teams. That's the delusional mindset that we live in. But once again, thanks for letting me get on my soapbox, listen to my rant, guys. As always, make sure to share, like, and subscribe, and turn on notifications so you know when the hell we're coming out with content so you can check it out. I know it's been a minute. Stuff's been going crazy. I haven't been posting. I'm sorry. I apologize. But when I do make content, turn your notifications so you can see it and you can get your questions answered. And as always, make sure to leave in the comments anything you guys want us to make a video about or anything you want us to touch base on. You never know, your next comment may be our next bar stool parlay. Thanks for watching, guys. Thank you for your time. Peace out.